one. If you like news on the Ohio State beat, then Thursday was the day for you, and Freaky Friday on the beat presented by the Waterworks is even better because there is so much to talk about, including a Friday foursome of questions in the mailbag as we get into it on the Austin and Birm Show. I am Austin Ward. He is Jeremy Birmingham. And hallelujah, Birm, the transfer portal window is closing.
Wait. Again, we're going to dive back into the same thing we talked about earlier this week. What time on Friday does it close? Was it midnight?
I don't know.
Oh, man. I mean, anything can still happen. We're living in sheer chaos world. But yeah, Ohio State persevered. They made it through. They added some key pieces on Thursday, including Jacoby Jackson, the running back from Florida, Cam Calhoun, a cornerback via Michigan, via Utah, via Alabama, who is entering Ohio State as a key depth piece at corner, and a guy who maybe has the chance to rotate into some action with Devin Sanchez and his former high school teammate, Jermaine Matthews. Buckeyes obviously added the kicker, as we talked about. They've done some good work, and now you're still trying to figure out if you can add a little bit more. So we'll see if Kyle Parker, the wide receiver from LSU, visits this weekend, and then it's kind of just everybody waiting to see if the Desir twins from Florida State make a visit, because if they do, that's a fairly good sized indicator that Ohio State is willing to play ball when it comes to their buyout and the money that it'll take to get them. If they don't, then you know that they weren't willing to, but it's over. We got them. It's over.
So, I mean, also Austin Sarabeld, Carson Hensman, Kenyatta Jackson, and Jermaine Matthews are returning to Ohio State and putting off the NFL draft. I posit to you, Birm, can the Desir twins, is there resources to bring them in with Kenyatta Jackson still in the fold, or are those separate matters?
I mean, just pay them the money, right? Like there's always more money.
There's always more money. Oh, okay,
There's always more money. It's really all about Ohio State's willingness to spend it.
I wonder if the Buckeyes have looked in the banana stand.
It's possible. I don't know. I mean, it's not like anyone has access to the coffers. It's not like we can ever know. It's not like you could ask anybody and get a full accounting of what Ohio State actually has handy or available. And now the question is Ohio State willing to make a few more calls to different businesses and say, hey, can we arrange this? I bet they would be if those two decided they wanted to make the trip. Again, the nice thing about those players, whoever ends up landing them, you're getting two players for, in some cases, the price of what you'd be paying for one Damon Wilson, but you're also getting likely multiple years of service out of them as opposed to one. So there is some potential ROI there that's a little bit bigger than just a one-year rental like Damon Wilson. So I think that's why Ohio State has had those two circled as potential options. And I think that there's still an obvious need to add more depth at defensive tackle and defensive end, and those guys would handle that for you. So anything beyond those two that gets added at the defensive front would surprise me. So I think that's where it has to be.
Okay. Well, it's a big weekend still, because even if with the portal closing, the marketplace will still be open. So as you said, the Desir twins, Kyle Parker being I don't know, was that visit on Thursday? I don't know if
no one's actually confirmed when that visit occurred or if it's occurred. So it's kind of like hearsay at the moment. We think that he's supposed to be in town at some point this weekend is what I was told. But, a lot of people, their weekend starts on Thursday. So maybe that was Thursday. Maybe that's Friday. Maybe it's Saturday. Doesn't really matter. All signs indicate that the initial reporting about Auburn being the clear-cut favorite have fallen to the wayside. Ohio State seems to be in the driver's seat. They didn't need to get their new kicker on campus before he committed. So maybe you don't need Kyle Parker on campus, but I'm sure that he'll probably pop up.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a existing relationship with Cortez Hankton. So, and I think that most big-time college football players can reasonably assume what Ohio State has to offer in terms of facilities and NIL opportunities and playing for championships. So that part I think is almost self-explanatory. So maybe that's the way that this would work. I don't know, but it feels just like a week ago when the conversation was, what's the plan? And the sky is falling and desperation and panic from outside the Woody. I still think you could say that this has not been the ideal 15-day stretch to start January, to start 2026. At least if you're saying what is plan A and executing to the fullest. And we've said that all week long, but in terms of adjustments and pivots and backup plans, you're starting to look at it now, and it feels like it's gone pretty darn well, Berm.
It's gone well enough that the people in Columbus are happy about it. I'm sorry. Let me reiterate that the people
in the Woody, you mean?
Inside of the Woody Hayes Athletic Center are happy about it. But there's a reason that a lot of the people around there started saying Woody against the world in the last couple of years, because sometimes it doesn't seem to matter what Ohio State does. There's going to be a very vocal clamoring that it's not enough, or that it was bad planning from the start, or that the evaluations are stupid, or that the people doing the evaluations don't know what they're doing. They feel pretty good about it. For those of us who are on the outside and are not football talent evaluators and X's and O's experts, I think you just kind of have to take their word for it. Now we'll find out. I mean, obviously that's the rub here. They felt pretty good about their transfer group from a year ago when you had guys like Ethan Anianwa, who didn't pan out. So now the real results aren't going to be known until next November, this coming November. But when you look at what Ohio State accomplished, what spots they filled, how they managed to replace depth, and again, all of the departures that you have, I mean, there's not a single guy that was a clear-cut, definitely going to be a starter at Ohio State who left. And so I think that that's important, because they did bring in guys who are definite, clear-cut starters at Ohio State, like Earl Little and Terry Moore. So you can try to explain it away any way you want, statistics and all those other things that people make jokes about. You can say whatever you want, but I think Ohio State feels good about what they've done. And if they can find a way to add these final couple pieces, I think they'll be very happy about what they've done.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in questions. It was refreshing to see some off the field, lighthearted questions. A lot of you with very, I think, reasonable takes about the end of the season. Maybe that was a benefit of us waiting 2 weeks since the Cotton Bowl. I don't know. I just wanted to say,
maybe we just have the most sane viewers on the planet.
Well, I was going to say that also could be possible, that maybe our audience is more level-headed, because we don't tend. Sometimes I overreact. Sometimes I've been a little overzealous about some of the things, but
I can get hysterical, buddy. I can get hysterical.
We try, and maybe that's reflected, I think, by our email inbox at the Austin Birm Show at gmail.com. So I wanted to say thank you, because we hadn't done that in, I guess, 3 or 4 weeks, and to go back in there, I kind of expected it to be a war zone, and it wasn't. So it was nice to read that. If I responded to some of you directly, say that you weren't in the Friday foursome this week. But we'll have plenty of time to get through those and take as many of those questions as we can throughout this off season. But this is how it will begin for 2026. And it was from Mitch in the ATL. And he said, as Ohio State is thinking about replacing Brian Hartline, are we hearing anything about potential offensive coordinator candidates? This came from Mitch, but it came from probably, 15 others. With the NFL playoffs still in full swing, along with some head coach firings, I'm wondering if Ohio State might land someone high profile like Kevin Stefanski, perhaps an up-and-comer in the Shanahan or McVay coaching tree. Thoughts? It's a great question, and I want to preface it by saying I still don't believe that there's anyone I would throw out as serious conversations have occurred, or that they are a serious candidate for Ohio State. Ohio State and Ryan Day, I think, very clearly wanted to get through the roster management phase first and foremost before getting and it goes in tandem with the fact that the NFL season is not over and the NFL coaching carousel has only begun to spin this week. So there are a lot of moving pieces at play here. Some of the people that we've talked about as ideal candidates, Berm, someone like Brian Dable, he's getting head coach opportunities in the NFL, or he's getting those interviews. It's highly unlikely that my wildest ambitions for who could fill that role are going to come through for Ohio State. The same may be true for someone with college and NFL experience like Todd Monken, the veteran like that. It looks like he's going to go to the Giants with John Harbaugh. So I know that those have been popular NFL names that have come up over the last month. The problem with proven or sitting offensive coordinators or head coaches in the NFL, or even guys who are in that job market right now, is that they're going to remain in demand at the NFL level. It's tough to get people at that high of a branch once they get to that point in the NFL. Matt Patricia is going to be the exception, not the norm.
Yeah, because a guy like Todd Monken, for example, it's a name that makes a lot of sense. He was recently in the college game, et cetera. But the Ravens' experience was not like a Todd Monken issue. If you go back to Matt Patricia and when he was let go by the Detroit Lions after the 2018 season, like that was a disaster in Detroit. The Todd Monken, John Harbaugh era, similar to the Mike Tomlin era in Pittsburgh, it just kind of had run its course. But it wasn't as though his reputation had been soured or there were questions about his ability to do his job that he had been doing. So I love the Todd Monken name. I brought it up here like 2 weeks ago, but I'm also not going to sit here and pretend that I have a real read on this hiring right now. And I have no problem saying I don't know when I don't know. What I do know is that Ryan Day is not in a hurry. What I do know is that the Buckeyes are expected to start really diving into this in this next couple of days and seeing where the interview opportunities are, because as Mitch in Atlanta mentioned, there are a number of moving parts here still, including the NFL playoffs and teams that are still in it. Guys like Nathan Shieldhouse, who we've discussed before, who apparently had an interview for the head coaching job in Cleveland, which I imagine was more of a cursory interview as opposed to like him really being considered for that job at this point. But guys like that are going to be out there. We'll see if he's interested in going back to the college game. I don't know. I mean, that's really the rub here, is that it really requires a special case NFL veteran coach to decide, hey, I want to go back to college. I want to go back to that experience, because it's not like the college game is what it was 10 years ago. I mean, it's a disaster. So it's hard for people to like look at it and be like, yes, that's what I want to do with my life for the next 365 days. And then of course we run into this problem that we've run into now the last 3 off seasons, which Mitch is somewhat alluding to here in his question. I actually had to edit it out of the question on the screen for space, but he said as a 1-year option for a guy like Kevin Stefanski. And I think that's something that Ryan Day has to consider weighing as well. How often do you want to keep doing this? And if you go out and hire an NFL cast off the possibility of Chip Kelly happening, or now the conversation around Matt Patricia and the Cowboys or whatever, and if that happens again, then do you want to start this over again? Now, there's the flip side, of course, which is anybody who's the offensive coordinator at Ohio State and does it for a year or 2 or 3, does it successfully, is going to have an opportunity to move elsewhere, which is why Ohio State's in this position they're in currently. So I think Ryan Day's philosophy on this is clear. I think his preference is clear. I think the personnel options are the unclear part. So you'll just have to go through these next probably 2 weeks to find out.
Yeah. I mean, and if you look at the timeline for when these decisions have been made by Ryan Day, they've not been the middle of January. Now, last year they were playing football. They were on the way to the national championship. But, looking at the year before with the Bill O'Brien and then Chip Kelly off season, like, Ryan Day is going to take his time. He's proven that even when it happened in the middle of spring ball, when Tony Alford left to go to Michigan, he still did not rush and immediately hire the first person who was interested in the job. He took his time and wound up with Carlos Loughlin. And I know, speaking for myself, that was a time where I was like, what is the holdup? Get this done. It needs to be done. You're in spring camp. And Ryan Day obviously doesn't listen to me or care. And he checked all the boxes and went through that process until he was satisfied that he had the right guy. And it has proven out that I think he did. So that will happen here as well. I don't expect anything different, and I don't expect this to be tied up neatly all that soon. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, yes. Like, I would say around the Super Bowl would be my guess.
Yeah, I think that's a good timeline. And I again, if we hear names, we're going to talk about them on the show. That's what we're going to do. But I don't like to sit and pretend like I have some insight into the actual decisions of NFL coaches, because even the coaches that we've been fortunate enough to become close with over the years, once they move on from Ohio State or go to the NFL or go to another school, like, they don't really want to talk to people who cover Ohio State anymore. Because there's just no value in it for them. I get it. I don't feel that. I'm not that salty. Bad? Yeah, I know. All right. We had a number of questions as well about the offensive line. This came from Jimmy. He said it's also been edited down so Birm could make the graphic, but the gist is this. I think it's fair to argue
that in the final two games, the offensive line was underwhelming, gave up a bunch of sacks, and looked disjointed. With the departure of Tegra Shabola, it seems the Buckeyes are okay with staying pat with an assumed starting unit and having Josh Padilla as the swing sixth man. There was a lot more after that, but the main question was why?
I mean, it's a fair question. And I don't know the correct answer. And I don't, again, I'm not trying, this isn't the I don't know episode of
seems like it.
Freaky Friday foursome questions. I don't know. I just think it's a matter of Ohio State not wanting to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Did the season end the way they wanted it to? Of course not. Were there mitigating factors like Tegra Shabola's injury and the back and forth with Josh Padilla and his injury and not really knowing who to put in to start against Indiana, giving the opportunity to Gabe Van Sickle, watching how that played out, replacing him with Padilla? Then you have to figure out where you go for the college football playoff game. I don't know. Again, I asked this question a few weeks ago on one of our shows. Might have been the live show, might have been here. But if I have one why question about the offensive line and the alignment and what broke down and how it turned out to be, I want to know what the why was that Gabe Van Sickle was the clear-cut choice over Josh Padilla heading out of the Indiana game into the Miami game, because that's where I think the biggest confusion for me is. I get why, if you're Ohio State and you have roughly you have a guaranteed 4 starters returning and one guy that had a lot of playing time that started a game in the college football playoff, you have that all coming back. I can understand where you'd be like, hey, we're good, especially knowing that you had only 1 year of Tyler Bowen coaching them and he hadn't coached the offensive line in 7 years. You had 2 other new assistant coaches with Charles Dickey and Marcus Johnson. Marcus Johnson is gone now, so you're going to have to figure out how you fill that gap. You lost Justin Fry. You lost Mike Seleni. There's different ways of coaching. There's different teaching methods. There's different approaches. I don't think for a team that had given up a total of 6 sacks in their first 12 games that it should be like, oh, this team sucks. Clearly, once they got into head-to-head battles against defensive lines that were better and defensive lines that deployed more moves and had more natural talent, they were average at best. And that's obviously a touch generous. But I think in both those games, I think in both the Indiana game and the Miami game, there was a clear difference in the second half of the game when Ohio State made a move. In the Indiana game, they went from Tegra Shabola to Gabe Van Sickle because Shabola was hurt and should not have played. And in the Miami game, they went from Gabe Van Sickle to Josh Padilla, who clearly his experience or his athleticism was a better fit for the Miami front four. So fine. I don't think it's a personnel issue. I think it's a playing the wrong personnel at the wrong times issue. And so the question comes to me is like, is that a coaching decision? Is it Ryan Day's decision? Where does it all come from? So to me, the long way of saying this, the why is it really wasn't that bad until it was pretty bad. And then it's a little too late at that point to come up with holistic reasons as to what you could have or should have done different. Now you have the offseason to figure it out. They like the personnel. There's no reason to panic.
Yeah, I don't think that you can fully absolve the coaching staff of any blame. We've talked about, you mentioned there in depth, who they were playing and why against Indiana in Miami, but also like the approach with both the tempo or the lack of sticking with, because the thing about the Miami game that sticks with me, and when I rewatched it, there were so many rushing lanes available that I think the offensive line played better in that game than it gets credit for. And if they had gone more tempo, if they had done more things to get the football out of Julian Sain's hands quickly, I think that offensive game plan as a whole was poor. It was not the best effort that we've ever seen from Ryan Day. I don't think that Ryan Day would argue with that, but I think he would probably push back and say there were opportunities for bigger things to hit, primarily in the running game, but even still with the passing attack, if they had held up in the protection a little bit better. And once you saw that Gabe Van Sickle was struggling, and once you lost Austin Cerebell, that was going to be incredibly difficult for Miami. And I'm not saying that to excuse it or brush it away or justify it, but it feels like an aberration to me based on the length of the season. It is also true to say that Indiana and Miami represented the most tenacious pass rushes that they faced, and they did not meet the moment. they're going to learn and grow and improve from that, in my opinion. At least that would be my bet. I don't think it is wrong to look at all 14 games and see if you have Austin Saravaldt coming back, if you have another year of development from Ian Moore, and if those become your tackles, that's a different situation than you were in 2025. If you move Philip Daniels, and maybe they won't do that. Maybe they won't move Austin Saravaldt. I don't know what they're going to do, but just based on what I talked about right there, those are three guys who've played tackle now for Ohio State in big moments and have positive results and could be able to grow from that. They have Carson Hinsman back at center, and Josh Padilla can help at either center or guard. Luke Montgomery is back. That group that we're talking about right there, including Gabe Van Sickle, that's 8 guys with the versatility to play multiple positions, like every single one of them, except for maybe Ian Moore. I don't know if he can play guard or not, but we know that all the others can move around. Those pieces are good, and they're veteran and they're experienced. That would be exactly what Ohio State was looking for if it had to go in the transfer portal, and it would have to pay exorbitantly to do so. So I think that this offensive line is in a really healthy spot, and they played not their best games, but I don't know that that's a lack of ability from the guys that are in the building right now as much as it was a disjointed plan. I think that was the word that Jimmy used. It's not to me that the offensive line itself was poor. I think that like Julian Sayin could have done more with his legs in the postseason than he did. I think in year 2 as a starter, he probably will. I think he's capable of doing that. The rushing attack, a year of improvement for Bo Jackson or being fully healthy. I don't know if the upper body situation slowed him down against Miami enough that he could have hit some of those plays that were available to him, or, whatever. We can set that aside, but there were opportunities for the running game to hit, to approach the passing attack in a different way that they did, to use tempo. It's all encompassing. So I'm not going to put it all on the shoulders of the offensive line. And I'm willing to bet that they're going to be markedly improved next year, and keeping this unit together the way they did, I think is probably going to pay dividends.
Yeah. I mean, they're learning and growing. I'm trying to learn and shrink.
Oh,
Austin.
Okay.
I'm trying to learn how to make better choices with my food and my diet, and to shrink and lose some pounds. It's working. I'm on Awaken 180. I've lost 30 pounds in 4 weeks. That's a lot of weight, people. Yeah. If you're out there and you're finding it difficult to find a plan that works for you, I promise you I wouldn't be talking about this on our shows if it wasn't actually working. You can see it working. I am svelte.
Ooh, boy.
I'm svelte. The Awaken 180 app keeps me on track. My coach, Mandy, keeps me focused on the things I need to do. She asks like nice questions like, hey, are you going out to eat this weekend? What would you be having if you go here? So things to help plan better. And the true motivation, though, is the scale, because every day I get on it and I'm like, holy moly, guys, this is crazy. So soon I'll be on to them.
Who else is in there with you?
I mean, everyone who's on the Awaken 180 journey with me, obviously.
Oh, okay.
I'm close to the maintenance portion of the program, and I can't wait because I'm interested and I'm excited to add back some things like cheese on a burger every once in a while, or maybe like boneless wings at Roosters every occasion.
Are you telling your coach how mad you are that you can't have cheese? Is that like
no? I mean, I'd figure she has to be watching our show, so she learns. Anyway, if you want to lose weight like I've been losing weight, if you started now, I bet you'd still lose 15 pounds by the end of January, and that's crazy to say, but it's true. Go to awaken180weightloss.com and do what I'm doing, do what Austin did, and a whole lot of other people who have found success. Finding success is pretty important when it comes to college football. And when you think about Ohio State's success, Austin, where do we go next?
I was about to go to question number 3, but this graphic appears to be the exact same as question.
Say what? Well, hold on. No,
okay.
Please hold. No, it's not. Look at that. It's been fixed.
Whoa, amazing. All right. Tyler asked if you could force one of the players that declared for the NFL draft to come back, knowing who was brought in from the portal to replace them, who would it be? That's a good question.
No, I mean, it's a simple question.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's actually not a simple question because
he's come around immediately.
Because there are 3 levels of the Ohio State defense, and all of them need help. And so obviously, Caden McDonald, who was brought in to replace Caden McDonald, James Smith or John Walker, or both?
Both, yeah.
So I guess I lean towards Caden McDonald because that position to me is ultimately what drives a normal defense. Like, how is your defensive line If it's successful, that's where you have your best chance to win. On the flip side of that, Ohio State is trying to replace maybe one of the 3 or 4 best safeties in the history of college football in Caleb Downs, which seems like it would be difficult to do, especially considering he actually had another year that he could have played. So it's a different conversation around Sonny Styles, who I think you love the leadership, but Arvell Reese, I actually felt like Ohio State did a pretty poor job of taking advantage of Arvell Reese's athleticism and ability in the last month and a half of the season, whether that was opponents figuring it out or Ohio State trying to be too deceptive, to use him as a decoy too much. I don't know. Caleb Downs is what makes everything happen in the Ohio State defense in the last 2 years. And so I'm going with Caleb Downs because I just don't. I think you have a better chance of replicating through multiple players like John Walker and James Smith at their best of what you got out of Caden McDonald than you do getting anything close to what Caleb Downs provides to the team he's playing for.
Don't you read PFF, Birm? Terry Moore was better 2 years ago. Yeah,
okay.
I know.
PFF stands for pretty effing fake.
Is that right? I wasn't aware.
I just made that up.
You crushed it. I think you're probably right, but I'm remembering the wise words of the philosopher Jeremy Birmingham coming out of the Cotton Bowl about how you must win from the inside out and in the trenches. And I view Caden McDonald, and if people think it's crazy, so be it. And if they think it's just because I love talking to Caden McDonald, which I do, I would understand. But I think it's fair to be skeptical that the combination of portal players that Ohio State brought in are going to be able to replace the dominance of Caden McDonald next year. Like, I don't think that that's reasonable or rational to expect that. So if you could force someone to return, I think, and I'd be very curious. I'm actually going to ask the same question to Matt Patricia. I don't know if he'll answer it on the record, but I would definitely want to know off the record, because it's obviously a defensive player. Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese, and Caden McDonald are all going to be first-round draft picks. I don't count Sonny. Sonny had spent 4 years playing at Ohio State. Until they changed the eligibility rule, like he and Caden Curry don't qualify for this in my mind. But guys who could have returned for another year under the rules that we've all known for 100 years of college football, I think it has to be Caden McDonald. He is so utterly dominant and disruptive at a position where you're just not going to find other options. I know that Caleb Downs is a one-of-one safety, but you can find other people to do 80% of what he does. And I bet that Ohio State feels better about the way that it has attacked that position than it has defensive tackle. That would be my hunch.
I'll play devil's advocate here and try to take your side, and I'll comment on 2 things. A, Jalen McClain played behind Caleb Downs the last 2 years and has learned a crap load from him and is in a position, I think, and there's a lot of discussion already this week about the additions of Earl Little, of Terry Moore, which guy plays which role. I'm of the belief that eventually it will be Jalen McClain playing the Caleb Downs role, and then you can move those other 2 parts around, as I've said a few times. So that lends some credence, I guess, to the idea that McDonald is harder to replace, considering there's nobody naturally in line to take his place. Also, to your point, we had a very similar question on a mailbag last January or February, and our answer was unequivocally Tyleik Williams, no doubt about it. Now, at the time, we were like, Caden McDonald and Edric Houston should be better. They should be good. They should help. You didn't know what we were going to get. So I think it's kind of interesting that for back-to-back years, the answer is the guy right in the middle, clearly, because that is still where football is won, and it's hard to ignore that. So I'm interested. America, we need your help. This is an informal Austin and Birm Show poll in the YouTube comments on Friday morning. Just one word: Caden or Caleb. Which guy was more important to the Ohio State defense this year? Which guy would you want back more often? So, or next year if you had your druthers. Druthers is a fun word. No one uses if you had your druthers enough.
I think you use it just the right amount. It's for special occasions. I was ecstatic to see question number 4. There was no doubt in my mind that we must include it. This was from Jimmy in Napa. Said mainly for Austin, but I say no because Birm loves wrestling too. But if you could pick any WWE entrance for when the Buckeyes take the field, whose would it be? And why is it Seth freaking Rollins? P.S. I need to know where the other Austin and Birm Show listener, which I hope there's more than one, in Napa, submitted a question weeks ago where they watched the game at 9 a.m. on Saturday. So I can help play matchmaker. Whoever you are, Napa folks, send that in to the Austin and Birm Show at gmail.com. We'll make sure that you guys can get together and watch the Buckeyes and maybe listen to the Austin and Birm Show together on 97.1 and 10 TV Plus. This question is so great because I would love to like plan the entire like pre 2-hour build up to the game around entrance music because WWE songs are the world's greatest form of entertainment. You can ask Liberty that. She plays the Def Rebel playlist on my phone constantly. I don't do that. She does that.
I don't know what that is.
Cool. They make the music for WWE right now.
Oh, like one band makes all the music?
Yeah, and there's also a lot of people that don't like it because some of it is lazy and repetitive, and I get that part. But they do hit some home runs like Seth Rollins, and I agree with Jimmy. It wouldn't be my pick, but if they played Burn It Down and then had all of the horseshoe going, oh, 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 I mean, that would be electric right before kickoff. I think that's wonderful. But I know, Birm, that you love Kingdom for Cody Rhodes.
But that's not the choice here. I'm gonna go a little bit. I'm gonna wheel it back in time a little bit, and it's Break the Walls Down. The Christian.
Oh, woo! Well, Y2J.
That's the correct entrance. When Ohio State needs to spend the couple $1 million to have the lights that can turn on and off quickly and all that stuff. But think about a night game, pitch black, then just like the red lights and the smoke and fog coming out from the tunnel, and then break the walls down, and then everything flashes and everyone runs on that'd be pretty awesome. To me, that's the winner.
Especially if you had the Y2J countdown clock going 10, 9, 8, 7, and then break the walls down. They came out of the tunnel. That would be awesome. I think the Stone Cold glass shattering would definitely get people fired up. There's no question about that. I don't know if the Degeneration X Are You Ready theme song is fitting for a fan-friendly environment, so we'll probably have to pass on that. But if I expanded it beyond just the current WWE roster, I think that Triple H's The Game by Motorhead would definitely get some things going. I quoted it in the week before the Michigan game, and it worked to turn the tide in the losing streak. I think that I had a lot to do with that, I think.
Yeah, it's all about the game and how you play it.
Yeah. So I think that would be a really meaningful option, I think, for the Buckeyes. But I loved this question from Jimmy, and I could talk about WWE theme songs for hours. Cult of Personality for Punk. It's got to be on the short list.
I would like that to be when they walk into the stadium, to be honest, but I think that's better than. I mean, Many Men is a great song. I just don't think there's enough people there to hear it when the Buckeyes walk into the stadium 2+ hours ahead of time. And I think that I'd like to see that utilized somewhere else, but whatever. I just hope
when they come into the stadium. Sorry, but that's when I would like. That's when you're talking about Many Men.
Oh, yeah. I meant sorry. I didn't know that song. Who sings that?
I think they should play.
Thank You by Dido.
That's not it either. They should play Roman Reigns' theme song when they come in 2 hours before the game.
I mean, if it's all wrestling based, then I'm sure you could find a really nice playlist. I just wanted to know, and I'm hoping, and I don't know why I'm in such this constantly seeking approval from people, but I hope Jimmy was happy that I came up with one that was a little bit off the cuff and that you weren't expecting. And I hope that I surprised you with my choice, Austin, because I know that you weren't expecting the Jericho theme song, but that is the one.
Especially because when I was growing up, Chris Jericho was my favorite wrestler starting in WCW before he went to WWE. And I hope that we hear Break the Walls Down in, what do we have? 2 weeks at the Royal Rumble, and that he comes back for a little maybe retirement run before he's done. That would be my hopes. My hopes
Is
are
Cena
also
done? Is Cena done? Like, is he finished? Or is
Yes.
he finishing at WrestleMania?
No, the retirement match was last month. He tapped out to Gunther.
I mean, weren't him and like Jericho big time rivals or something? So is it just like, okay, we need another old guy to retire now? Like, bring Chris back?
Well, there's a lot of them because Brock Lesnar's nearing the end. AJ Styles is going to be retiring soon. Jericho's going to be that. I hope that Gunther doesn't retire all of them, but that seems to be where this is heading. And I know how many people love that we ended a Freaky Friday mailbag with 5 minutes of wrestling conversation. But guess what? If you don't want that to happen, send in your questions because we're going to do a Friday foursome every single week throughout this offseason. Maybe we'll continue it on bold predictions once we get to the 2026 season. I don't know. That's 9 months away at this point. But we know that this offseason is going to go fast because we already got through the transfer portal window and we all survived and we made it to a Freaky Friday on the Beat presented by Waterworks and Hetter Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Appreciate you all so much. Have a wonderful weekend. If there's more news, we will, of course, break it down with some Snappy Jays on 97.1 The Fan and 10 TV. But if we don't, we'll talk to you on Monday. See ya.